All right. Okay, guys. Welcome to our show. It's a little bit different today. I've got Jason up in my left-hand corner and Paul down below me, and we're here to talk some Iowa Hawkeye football. And we're going to talk a little bit about the offense, and we're just going to just talk about what's going to look like this year and what we hope to accomplish and what we need to do to win. And I'm going to start with Jason. How are you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing great. I'm excited. I'm ready to talk Iowa's offense. I'm ready.
Yeah. How about you, Paul?
I'm ready to go.
Yeah, here we are. We're just a few weeks away now. It feels like it's been forever since the Citrus Bowl, and we haven't had a lot to be able to talk about Hawkeye football wise. It's good. This off season has been fairly quiet as far as off the field stuff goes compared to previous years. But on the positive, the basketball team gave us a lot of great entertainment. So and the women's basketball team, for that matter as well. So it's good to be back, and it's good to be talking Hawks.
Heck yeah,
it is. We got.
Hey, don't forget Iowa baseball though. If you're gonna go through all the sports, Iowa baseball, they should have been in the tournament, man.
I know.
That's true.
They and Rutgers. Rutgers should have been there too, and they got robbed.
Yeah, Iowa point.
But it was a great season. Iowa won the West title in football, and the men's basketball won the men's tournament, and the women won both the season and the women's tournament in basketball. So, I mean, it was a great winter when you get right down to it, guys.
Yeah, Iowa sports did great.
Yeah.
Who would have thought going into last fall that it would be the wrestling team that
let us
was
down?
The worst of all the programs. I hate to say worst, but had the worst results of all the programs.
Yeah, I think what you see there is the Spencer Lee effect.
Yeah.
I think without him in the lineup, some of the guys lost their zip because he gets things started and gets things rolling, and the other guys get hyped up, and those guys weren't as hyped up this year as they normally are. So we're going to need Spencer back to fully healthy this year to win that national title again.
Right.
Anyway, let's get out for football, guys. We got to talk some football.
Hey, football.
So I'm excited to see. It's no secret that the offense has got to be better this year. And one of the things that I was doing, if we'd have just averaged one more touchdown a game, and that's not too much to ask out of this team, only one more touchdown a game, we could have had a 12-2 season. I thought it was going to be 12-1. I mean, 13-1. But when I went back and I looked, I realized we lost by 2 scores to Purdue. How the heck that happened, I'll never know. But we lost by 2 scores. So that one more touchdown wouldn't have got us a win at Purdue.
No, I can explain that too if you want me to.
Yeah, you can go ahead and do whatever.
Iowa won't beat Purdue on a consistent basis unless they completely overhaul the defense and offense for that one game.
Right.
Purdue's style of offense basically is kryptonite to Parker's defense. Because all Purdue needs is one guy that can completely dominate their under coverage. And that's what Bell did. And Bell.
It froze on my side. Oh,
he's frozen on my side too.
I
don't know if he knows he's frozen.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Can you hear me still or no? Because I didn't know I was.
You were freezing up a little bit, but you were on a roll there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, that stinks because it's not frozen on my end. Like as far as seeing you guys.
Right.
But I was just gonna say, like this year, like last year, I literally, if you saw my preseason show, I said that I had Purdue winning that game 90%, which is exact opposite of this year because Purdue doesn't have any receivers that could just go out and dominate. I mean, they've already moved Tracy, down and trying to get him to play running back. which I was surprised that Charlie is actually their starting X in their side, but that Charlie is not a very good route runner. So this year I actually have Iowa winning that game 90%. The schedule isn't as tough this year as what everybody wants to make it out to be, because basically we flip-flop Michigan and Penn State. We don't play Penn State. People act like we still play Penn State on top of Michigan and Ohio State.
Mhm.
Ohio State is my Purdue of last year. Ohio State, I have Ohio State winning 90%. I mean, I can't, all my positive Hawkeye stuff that I like to do, I can't even picture a way that Iowa can win that game. I think
I wouldn't even give it a better odds if the game was in Kinnick this year.
No,
I mean,
I
that
agree.
Ohio State team is going to be
Because-
absolutely loaded.
yeah,
they are.
They basically have 3 bells on their team.
Right.
So-
Ohio State's the only team in the Big Ten that can have like 2 or 3 first-round draft picks at wide receiver, and then come back the next year and they're projected to be better at wide
Yeah.
receiver.
I
Yeah.
agree. I 100% agree. So that's why the way I look at the schedule, like I have Iowa being 10-2 again, or 11-1 if they could beat Wisconsin. And it's totally because I go off of the schedule, like my gambling. I 100% go off of what the schedule actually is. This year's Purdue team is not going to be the same as last year. It's just they lost so much. They lost Milton Wright. They lost Bell. So that's kind of how I look at the
Karlaftis.
schedule. Yeah. I mean, they just Purdue's not going to be the same.
Yeah.
So I guess that was the bottom line. But their style of play, as long as Braum is there, they're going to beat Iowa on a consistent basis when they have a roster.
Right.
And
Yes.
all they need
I
is
don't-
one receiver.
I don't mean to go off topic because I know we want to talk Hawkeye offense, but I'm curious what your guys' thought on this. Would you have rather had George Karlaftis or AJ Epinesa? Who do you think was because Karlaftis, was a first-round pick, Epinesa a fourth-round pick, and I think some of that had to do with his
He
combine.
was a second-round pick to Buffalo. He was
Huh?
a second pick. He was a second-round pick to Buffalo.
Oh, okay.
I had him going in the third. The reason I remember this is because I got made fun of for having him going in the third. And then he went to the second round to Buffalo. That's why I remember that so vividly, because everybody made fun of me, when I was wrong.
Yeah.
So he's in the second. But to answer your question, I'd rather have George. Because in my opinion, I know I've had conversations with Coach Bell about this. He didn't have Epinesa with as many loof plays as I did. Like he didn't like how to me, sometimes it looked like Epinesa would take a play off. Like George is crazy. That dude is just crazy on the outside. And he didn't take plays off. Like he was coming to hurt you.
Right.
Granted, Epinesa, though, if you remember his junior year against Nebraska and USC, he
Yes.
took over those games. Remember Nebraska? I think he had double-digit tackles. Nebraska literally couldn't do anything. He had sacks.
And don't forget the bowl game against Mississippi State. He took over that game too.
Oh, see, I don't remember that, but you're probably right. Yeah, the defense played well in that game. The game that made everybody go crazy because Iowa wasn't supposed to win that game because they had like the number one defense in the country.
Yeah.
They
Don't
literally
forget
had-
about.
They had 3 guys go in the first round off that Mississippi State defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, don't forget about that Mississippi super fan that
Yeah, now he's on Barstool Sports.
is he?
Yeah. He thinks he's the greatest Twitter guy. He's like, follow me on Twitter. He does Twitter spaces. I don't know if you know what that is.
No.
He does those, and all he does is cuss everybody out. He's basically he's more infamous than he is famous because
Yeah.
of how he treats everybody, and everybody just wants to see how he acts.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can get into this offense.
Yeah, let's do that.
So what are we gonna do to make this offense go this year?
Well, from what I'm hearing, what I'm loving what I'm hearing is this is the first time, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong because I can't remember. This is the first time I've ever heard Iowa quarterbacks talk about reading coverages. Did you hear Spencer's interview where he's talking about what he's going to do when it's a cover 3? If he sees the cover 4 look, cover 2 look, man. Did you see that interview when he was literally discussing what they're talking about, which is what they should have been talking about this whole time?
Right.
Which is what you saw my video I did when it wasn't a very good video because I was so frustrated with technology. But if you got my point, of there was a particular play, a 3rd down and 3 play against Colorado State. They basically had 3 Iowa receivers on 2 defenders, and he throws it right away to Goodson, and Goodson was the one guy that was really covered. It was wide open Tracy right in front of him on the stop route. Then he had wide open Regini out in the flat where nobody covered him, period. And he still throws it to Goodson to the right, which that's where the coverage was. So, I mean, to hear him talk about that, and I think it has a lot to do with what I'm hearing about Brian. This would be his first year. Brian actually has control of the offense, with the exception of game day decisions that Ferentz likes. We all know what he's going to do once we get a 20-point lead. He's not going to put his foot on the gas and let's go win by 40. He's not going to do that. And that hurts the numbers for Iowa's offense. When everybody talks about
Iowa takes
yards,
you
can't.
Iowa takes the foot off the gas with 10-point lead.
No, they did last year. No, they did last year. I 100% agree. Like, you can go back to the Iowa State game last year. If you remember that second quarter, Brian found something. Petrus was on fire. He threw for over 100 yards in the second quarter. I want to say his halftime stats were like he was 11 of 14. And he had a touchdown, and then Goodson had a touchdown in the second quarter. Iowa dominated that second quarter. And they come out in the third quarter, and he just kind of, once Iowa State started turning the ball over, the offense stopped. It was just, let's just work the clock. I mean, that hurts. And I think, because if you guys remember, the Raiders wanted Brian as a tight end coach. Remember how the Raiders, Josh McDaniels did not hire a tight end coach until after Brian said that he was going to come back. You remember how Brian and Kirk was in a tiff? Do you guys know any about that?
No, I don't. I did not realize that.
Kirk literally talked Brian into coming back because Brian was kind of fed up with everything. The Raiders wanted him as a tight ends coach when Josh went to Las Vegas now, and he didn't hire a coach until it was all Brian was coming back. Well, that's why I know this will be the first year Brian is going to have total control over those 4th and 1s. If you remember the back-to-back fullback dives, the back-to-back quarterback sneaks on 4th and 1s against Wisconsin and Purdue. You remember that last year? And both of them came out of a timeout because Kirk has so much faith in the interior lineman. He wants a quarterback sneak or he wants a fullback dive on a 4th and 1.
When you're sneaking behind Linderbaum, that makes some sense.
Well, right, but they got stuck on that particular play and back-to-back tries. That was against Purdue. They did a quarterback sneak on 3rd and 1 and got stuffed, and then they came back. They called timeout and came back out of the timeout and ran the exact same play, and he got stuffed. And against Wisconsin, it was the fullback dive, and that one is the one that really angered me because Petrus was literally audibling to an outside play. He was audibling from because he saw everybody was inside. Then Kirk calls timeout. Well, when Kirk called timeout, he probably told him, no, we're running this fullback dive. And it got stuffed. So it's stuff like that I'm excited about this year because I think everything is going to open up. This is going to be the first time you're going to see Brian's full spread offense that he wants to run. Now, the stretch is a staple. The zone blocking is a staple of Kirk Ferentz. I highly doubt they get away from that. But this year we have running backs that will one cut and go. There's going to be no dancing. Last year, Goodson, he lost 105 yards of total rushing yard on 265 carries or 260 carries. Williams lost a total of 10 yards on 65 carries. So Williams, he's a one cut and go guy. And if you watch the Big Ten championship game, he was the only one that was getting yards because he would get to the hole and go.
Right.
For Goodson wouldn't. So if you go back, I think Williams had like 12 carries and 50 some yards against Michigan. I mean, it was crazy because he would just hit the hole. You don't have time when your line can't block the two defensive ends.
Right.
Michigan's both of those guys. Thank God they're in the NFL.
Yeah.
Both of those guys destroyed Iowa.
I think Tyler was auditioning for the NFL because we did not see him do that dancing the two previous seasons, I don't know
Or
where
fall
he
back.
learned that dance moves, but it cost him a lot of yards. Think of how much he
Well,
would
I
have had
think
if he
he
had
wanted
just
to
hit
get
the hole
hurt.
and go.
Well,
You know?
at the first couple of years there, he had a couple of pretty good offensive tackles. This last year, we were really green on the outside of the offensive line, especially early in the year. And they did seem to kind of mature as the season went along. But coming into the year, we were replacing Tristan Wirfs, who might be a top 5 offensive lineman in the NFL already. And then
For real.
the Alaric Jackson was a 4-year starter at left tackle. And so I think that makes a difference. And, when I do think there's something to be said for trying to elude tacklers in the backfield because, guys were just getting beat off the snap. So I don't want to put it all on Tyler.
Well, no, you can't put it all on Tyler, but the difference between running styles helps.
Yeah.
Between getting a 4-yard loss, having 2nd and 14, or having 2nd and 10 or even 11. If you just get to the line of scrimmage as best you can, but when you're trying to dance, and he would just fall down, which is, I think, that goes to the NFL point. He just didn't want to get hurt.
Right.
When he saw, he wasn't going to put his head down and just go, and he just wanted to go down, not get a knee injury, not get hurt. I think there's a lot to be said about how he's a lot stronger than what he looked.
Right.
But he's so fast, which is why, if you believe, he still averaged 4.5 yards a carry. Because when there was a hole that opened up perfect blocking, which is what he needed, he was gone. He's just fast. I mean, he's grease lightning quick. He's going to make the Green Bay Packers roster. This isn't a knock on Goodson as much as it is the offensive line, because when they would give him a hole, he would go. It's just, in my mind, which kind of plays to the 55 to 60% third down conversion rate, which is what I really believe they can do that this year, because there won't be as many 2nd and 14s, 2nd and longs like there was last year. I think they were 35% last year, something like that. Horrible.
That is correct.
And
34%.
A lot of that had to do with the first down running play that ended up in a 4-yard loss, because then you got 2 downs to get to 14. And that's not going to happen this year. I mean, it will on a sack occasionally, but not as often.
Yeah, I look for the Williams, both of the Williams, to be closer to Sean Green running style. Just hit the hole and plow through, and I think they can get 4 to 5 yards of carry every time, with occasionally breaking through. But I don't think they have the speed of Sean Green. What do you got? What are you pointing out there?
Average 5 yards a carry, and that's how they're going to do it as a team. I'm talking about as a team, which means less sacks too, because you guys know in college sacks go against the running game. Yeah. When they were talking about Iowa averaging 1 yard a carry, on games where the quarterback got sacked 8 times or whatever the heck it was. Well, it wasn't the running backs averaging 1 yard a carry. The sacks completely destroyed all the rushing stats.
Another factor here too is sorry, I totally lost my train of I got it back. Great.
Good.
I bet if you go back over the history of Kirk Ferentz football at Iowa, I can't prove this without doing a ton of research, but I would bet 80% of Iowa's scoring drives started with the first 2nd down play of the drive being 2nd and 7 or better.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that.
And I think 3 or better on first down is so paramount for this offense to function correctly, because like you were saying, there's just such a big difference for what Iowa wants to do and how they want to play between a 2nd and 7 and a 2nd and 11 or 2nd and 12.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I bet you're right. Other than 2002, I bet you're absolutely right, because in that year they could literally make up for a 2nd and 14 because Banks was
Right.
just going to get it himself.
They
Right.
haven't had a quarterback like Banks since. I wish they would start recruiting one like him.
Beathard was a little bit like Banks, I thought. He had some CJ Beathard.
Yeah.
Well, if he didn't get hurt, yeah, he had skills. It's just he always got hurt in the knee and the hips, but you're right.
I remember back to the Iowa State game in 2015, I think it was, where Beathard took off from the end zone. And
yeah, he had 80 yards rushing that day.
Yeah.
He had 2 rushes of over 40 yards.
Yeah.
So he did get sacked a couple times. But if you remember, like he had that one, like you said, from the end zone, and then he had another one later on in the game where he took off and ran. He had 2 rushes of over 40 yards that day, and still ended up with like 80-some yards rushing.
And that brings us, full circle here to where we are with our current quarterback situation. And I think from my pulse of the fan base with Petrus, he's not been terrible. He hasn't been accurate. Okay. I want to say good things about the guy and I want to support him, but accuracy has been an issue.
He's been,
and if you're mobile, you can make up for some of that, right? You don't have to be the most accurate, because you can make something out of nothing. But if you're going to be Peyton Manning-esque as far as mobility goes, then you've got to be Peyton Manning-esque accurate.
But he has to have the offensive line too. I think his inaccuracy was because the line couldn't hold. They needed another split second or 2 to hold back the rushers in order for him to find his open people, because he kept missing the open people too. He'd be thrown into a crowd and they're going, you got a guy over here in the end zone standing there waving his arms with nobody around him, like, hey, I need a ball.
Yeah, but I mean, it all comes with his completion percentage was 57, I think, and that comes with drop passes as well. But his accuracy is not. If you remember the Kentucky game, I mean, there was nobody around him when he missed Regini. You were there, right, Paul?
I was there.
Did you see how wide open Regini was from your spot?
Wide open.
So, I mean, it goes both ways. But this is what I'm hearing about Petrus. You're going to be really surprised about what you see with Petrus. He is turning the corner. Now, he has to do this on game day, but he's lost 10 pounds. He's more, fleet of foot. So he can roll out better. He can do, waggles, bootlegs. So he can do all that better now with the weight loss, the training. That's what he worked on in the offseason to up not only his accuracy, but his movement in the pocket. Now, the pocket thing, when you're talking about Manning just had this gift like Brady, where they're in the pocket, they just slide to the left, slide to the right. Petrus don't have that feel for the pocket to just sit there. And so I think his blocking, it is, because even if somebody's coming, he doesn't have that feel of the pocket to step up or, get out of there. He's going to do whatever, and he's going to get, sacked. But I'm hearing great things about him, better than ever. So far, he's been exactly what I thought he was coming out of high school. Like I did a evaluation on him come out of high school, and all the Hawkeye fans were making fun of me because of his, he's a 4-star, blah, blah, blah. But I had him and Padilla basically the same, and it's because neither one of them are accurate. And Padilla, people talk about Padilla's like mobility, but he doesn't use it. You can have all the mobility you want. He didn't pick up 1 first down with his feet. Like, he doesn't use it. He doesn't, when he would roll out, he couldn't complete the pass because he's not accurate. There's a reason he completed 48% of his passes. And if you remember the Michigan game, he completed like 70% of his passes, but he only gained 30 yards in those 7 completions, and he threw an interception. So, I mean, when people talk about, well, Petrus only throws short yards, Padilla's average per throw is less than Petrus. So, I mean, Iowa does have struggles with their quarterbacks. The boss isn't like that, though. The boss can move. So I'm really excited. And those of you that have followed me or what, have you seen my Marco comments? I absolutely love Marco. I think Marco is gonna change the game at Iowa. It's because of his accuracy, his ability to read coverage. So I'm so excited for that dude. I mean, he completed 88% of his passes last year in high school. You know, there were some drop passes in high school.
But I want to introduce everyone watching to Hayden.
I see that.
Yes.
Awesome.
I don't think I would get away with naming our cats that. Guys, I don't want to interrupt you guys. I am trying to fix the problem, but we've only got 8 minutes left. And if I can't get this fixed, it's gonna stop us right in midstream. So maybe we should, like hit this hard for the next 8 minutes and see what happens. And I'll fix this for the future podcast so we can get more time out of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, let's go full speed.
Yeah. I just want to throw this out there real quick because I think this is really important and needs to be said. I think we're going to see a few different. Sorry, guys. I think we're going to see some different things out of the offense for a couple of reasons. One, the addition of Abdul Hodge as the tight ends coach. I think it's understated having that linebacker experience and being able to coach these guys as to, this is what a linebacker is thinking. This is how a linebacker is going to react to you doing certain things. And, more often than not, you're going to get a linebacker covering a tight end. So I think that's a huge addition to the offense. And then for all the talk we have about Petrus and the offense and the wide receivers, I think I've made this point maybe with you guys before. This is really the first time that he's going to be working with Keegan Johnson and Arlen Bruce as the starters through camp, through spring. Last year it was Tyrone Tracy and I mean, Keegan and Bruce were true freshmen. They were trying to, work their way into getting reps and things like that. So I think you're going to see some better cohesion this year between Petrus and the wide receivers.
Yeah. I want to make a bold prediction here before we run out of time. As you're going to see Arlen Bruce kind of be an everything person this year. He's going to run the ball. He's going to catch the ball. I believe he's going to throw the ball. Bring back the Wildcat. Arlen Bruce is going to throw the ball out of the Wildcat this year.
I like it.
That's my bold prediction this year.
I was with you everywhere except for throwing the ball. So that is bold. But he will be doing everything. Him and Caden Wetjen. Get used to that name, Caden Wetjen, because he's a Bruce type. They're both very quick, very fast. I think both those guys are going to be used. You're right. My X factor is Brody Beck, no pun intended, taking over the X position from KJ. So then KJ can move inside and do a lot of the different things. Because having a big X receiver, and it stinks that Jackson Ritter's gone, because Jackson Ritter he's gone for the year, if you guys didn't know.
Right.
He was moving up, and he was another big body at 6'3" that could have had that outside receiver, the big outside receiver. Right now, KJ will be the excellence, in my opinion, Brody Beck. And there's another one that was pushing Brody Beck. But Iowa has all kinds of receivers.
They got a guy by the name of Bostic or something, Jacob Bostic.
Jacob Bostic. He's 6'2", but Alec Wick, which I believe he was a walk-on, he's getting into the mix. He's a 6-footer. So there's a lot of, I think, in the receiver room, there's a lot. I just wish Jackson Ritter wouldn't have got hurt.
Right.
But if Brody Beck can do his thing, get outside and at the X spot, he'll be a good guy in the red zone out there. Just throw it up if they play him man-to-man, because he's 6'4". So if he gets going, which I think he's going to, I think this offense is going to evolve to a lot of different things this year. And I think we're going to see more spread. We're not going to see as much 1st and 10 stretch plays. It's not going anywhere because that's a part of what Kirk's not going to be like, yeah, don't forget the stretch. Forget the zone blocking. It's going to be there, but we have running backs now that will one cut and go.
Yeah.
Like you said, green types.
Yeah. Well, that Caden Whitjack, how do you say his name? Whitjack? I think it looks like he really truly will be the next Charlie Jones. I mean, he can match Charlie Jones for speed, and it sounds like he's a better route runner.
He's actually Bruce is they're really close to exactly the same player. But Bruce is the same. So Wedgen and Bruce are both. I expect to see them both in the return game, both doing fly sweeps, running the football. I expect a lot out of this offense, and that's pretty much like why I got like my goals for this offense: top 75 in total offense. And to me, and that's your guys' yards. Everybody likes to talk about yards with Iowa because BF has had 2 seasons in the top 50 in scoring. If they get back in the top 50 in scoring, like they had in 2018 and 2020, which that was obviously a short year, but 2018, this defense is going to be dynamite. If they get their butts back in the top 50 in scoring, I think this is going to be a special year. And I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think we're going to be better on offense than a lot of people think. I think Petrus will have improved better than a lot of people think. And all the negative people, every time you pull something about Petrus, you get all those negative people like bench the guy.
Yeah.
Couldn't
get another chance. But if he's the best guy on the team, there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah, that's what I always say. I just want the best quarterback out there that's going to give us the best chance to win. If the other 2 that are in the mix are not going to give us a good chance to win, then let's put them in their backup roles that they deserve.
Unfortunately, I think Kirk's philosophy isn't putting the guy who gives us the best chance to win. It's play the guy who
makes the least of mistakes.
Presents the fewest risks of losing. And there's a difference.
Yeah, that's spot on. That's exactly right.
Yeah, but his philosophy cost us Hogan last year when he practically promised Hogan some reps in that was it the bowl game or the Michigan game? I can't remember which one it was.
No, he didn't promise anything. Hogan couldn't get any reps. I knew Hogan was transferring the summer before he actually transferred. Go back to my page and look at all Hogan. If you remember last summer, Hogan couldn't even run the offense. Hogan could not figure out the offense, period.
Yeah.
If you watched him on summer, now Kirk's comments had nothing to do. Kirk made those comments because he knew. He already knew that like Hogan could not go up there and run their basic plays and know their motions. That's why nobody wanted Hogan. He walked on to Kentucky. And I got a feeling that the coach at Kentucky who is friends with Kirk did him a favor getting Hogan to Kentucky. These people are saying that Hogan's going to start 3 years at Kentucky or.
So guys, let's kind of wrap this up real quick because we're running out of time. We're under a minute. And I promise you guys, I'll get this fixed and maybe upgrade so that we don't have this in the future.
Yeah, well, next time we probably should go right into it because I got a lot of stuff to talk about Iowa's roster on offense.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We can do this again. We don't have to wait till next week. We can actually plug in again and do it again soon if you guys want to.
Are you still off Monday, Paul?
I work, but I work later. Like I can.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You're right. Yeah, if Paul wants to do it Monday morning or something, we can do it.
Absolutely.
Okay, sounds good. Let's do it again Monday morning, guys. This
Right.
was a lot of fun. I'll upgrade so we can have more time because I know we didn't get what we wanted done accomplished today.